Welcome back to Gather Now Network. My name is Amon Mukisa, and today we're going to be talking matters television and radio. My guest today has been to places where angels fear to tread, basically to tell stories. He has hosted countless shows. He has hosted various people that people fear to meet and talk to. Well, his name is Joseph Sabiti, a celebrated journalist in Uganda. Well, don't you go away. In a short while, we're going to be talking to Joseph Sabiti to get to know him. How has been life in the media industry? So please, join me on Gather Now Network to talk to Joseph Sabiti. Hey!
Hey, finally we meet.
Finally we met. It's been like ages, you know?
I know.
Because I remember way back in school, I used to text you, hey Joseph, we want to meet you. I remember those days, I think it was during the elections and we were covering that whole WestJet thing in Machinde. So I started listening to it and you're like, come and meet me in Machinde before I go on air. But you know what was funny? I was in school, like boarding school. So I couldn't find a way of coming out. But hey, here I have you. Talking to you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you, Joseph.
Finally, yes.
Man from Zombo. How does that come? Like, is it like your character, man from Zombo, or it's you want to be named as man from Zombo, not Joseph Sabiti?
No, you see, I come from a place called Zombo. I don't think many of you knew about it
Really?
Before I started speaking about it. So most of the people who came from that side were embarrassed to associate with where they came from. So I thought that I needed to empower them, to let them know that it's okay. You can come from Zombo, you can come from Busoga, you can come from Fort Portal. It was a way of breaking that stigma of background. So eventually it became an identity.
And it has really worked.
Yes.
It has really worked. So here we are. How has been your journey in the media as a journalist?
Wow, long story. But I should say fulfilling. I now sit and know that I have done my part. And by the way, I will be leaving. I've not said this out, but end of this month, I'll be leaving to take up a new role. So I only have the next two front lines to do. And I'll be quitting active journalism. Because the truth is, I have done my part.
We have many of you quitting journalism. Are we safe who want to join journalism?
Because we want to leave space for
because
you.
Solomon left, Sheila left, so you're also leaving.
Yes, I am leaving end of this month. My last show will be on 26th. So for now, I've taken leave from the newsroom activities and everything. I am only coming to work on Thursday to do the front line until I hand over to the next host. So 2 shows to go, I'll be retired. Going to retirement, yes.
But they say a journalist never retires because we've seen you leaving the newsroom, went to Action Aid, and then come back. So can we expect you to come back someday?
They say never, but you know, I think that around that time, there were circumstances that made me take a break. That's why I didn't say I was leaving at that time. I said I was taking a break. 1 year later, I think that I have done my part. If I'm to come to the media, I'll come as a panelist or as a guest, but I'm not going back to active journalism. No, I'm not going back to sitting in the newsroom.
I'm just imagining seeing you, Joseph, then we have here Solomon Serwanja on the media round table, and then Mildred is hosting you. That would be like a whole NBS on the set.
Yeah, but you know, eventually I think that, you know, young people like you are coming up. We need to leave the stage. We need to hand over to the next generation of journalists. We need to go and do other things. We really need to create space for
Are you at liberty to tell us what you're going to do after journalism?
In the immediate effect, I'm moving to Parliament.
Yes. Actually, I read about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Congratulations.
Now you can hear it from me. I'll be
yes, congratulations.
Parliament. I'm already doing a few things there. So I'll be sitting there.
It's press secretary, right?
Yes.
Wow. That's a big one over there also. Anyway, Joseph, let's talk about your journey in the journalism industry. How has it been like, and how was it like to join? Because I read about you when you joined way back on WBS. You used to work with Mildred. How was it like to join the journalism industry? Was it your career job? or you just joined because of other circumstances?
No, when I was in Form 6, I was confused between being a lawyer and a journalist. Part of me thought I would be a good lawyer. Another part thought I would be a good journalist. So I remember when I was filling the form, I picked a pen and said, "Piki, piki, ponki," and it fell on journalism.
Really?
So I did another piki, piki, ponki, and it fell in journalism. So I applied only to join one university, and that was UCU. And I applied for 2 courses. The first choice was mass communication, the second one was law. So there were 4 options on the form. So I put the 2. I said, if I miss this one, I'll go here. So, but also around senior 4, I was reading a lot of writings from Andrew Mwenda, Charles Onyango-Bo, and Harry Sagara. Okay, I had an uncle who would come home with papers, with newspapers. So around P6, P7, I was very curious. I was reading a lot. So I would read, but I wasn't understanding. You know, those were deep writings, ear to the ground and what. So I said, when I grow up, I want to write.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, my understanding of journalism was writing. That's all I knew.
Are they called columnists? Something like that?
I only knew one aspect. I knew that journalists
They're
write.
writers.
Yeah, they write great articles. So, yeah, going into senior 6, I started thinking, maybe I can write. Maybe I can write like Charles Onyango-Bo. Maybe I can write like this. So I didn't know about the broadcast bit. But also, you know, my early childhood was in the village. Then I moved to Arua a bit. So my life has been village town, yes. So yeah, when I was admitted to UCU, that was it. It was the beginning of
your career.
Of a career, yes. Yeah.
How do you get to WBS?
Wow. So in my university, I failed to get a placement for internship in Kampala. By the way, I went to UBC. They didn't allow us to even cross into the reception area. Even when I remember we went to Hot 100, we didn't even cross the reception. Went to NTV. I think they trashed our application. I don't think they looked at it. So I had nowhere to go. I failed to find a place for internship. So I retreated to Arua, which is really my hometown. It's the town I grew up in. It's the town I call home. So I went to a radio station called Radio Purchase. They gave me a place first year. Yeah, they gave me a place, but what was I doing? Sports.
Wow.
In the local language. So
Joseph, we see here.
No, I was a very good sports journalist.
Really?
Yes. I think that I was fantastic. I was a very ardent Liverpool fan, very ardent. And I had the history of Liverpool, you know, at the back of my mind. I had a fantastic understanding of their style of the game, of the Premier League, of the local sports. I was passionate. I was watching a lot of football until I stopped watching football in 2005, Istanbul, when they hammered Liverpool properly. And then they came back to win the trophy, but I had cried. So I told myself, I'm not investing any emotions in football.
Let me give it up.
I don't watch football. Even if the El Clasico is happening here, I'll turn my back to the screen. Why should I invest emotions in something happening millions of kilometers away, which doesn't help me?
Yeah.
So I now watch local football. So I support all the teams from West Nile.
Dumparaka,
yes. Dumparaka, Paida Black Angels, now Arua Hills FC. Those ones I support them. So now I can only watch local sports. So I was doing sports journalism, sports news, reading sports news in the local language. Now I had grown up in Arua where a different language is spoken. I came from a part where another language was spoken. They made me to do sports news in my mother tongue. So I had to figure it out.
Because
yes,
I can imagine how hard it is. Seriously speaking, if you told me to present this show in my mother tongue, I would fail totally. Yeah. How's it like?
No, I had to figure out something. So trial and error. Eventually I did that. Then they gave me a youth show, youth entertainment, Saturday.
You also did entertainment?
Yes, I did. It was fun connecting with young people, listening to them, listening to their stories. So one day, there was a political show, and the host, I think, did not show up. And the guest was already there. So the gentleman who was the head of programs at Radio Purchase came and held my hands and walked me to the studio and said, "You're going to do it. But if you mess up, I will kill you."
What went through your mind by then? Hearing that
I was
word,
very
"I'll
tiny.
mess up,
I was
I'll
very
kill you."
tiny, very small, very inexperienced. So I went and sat. So I told myself, if I die, I die.
Let
I
me
sat.
go do this.
Yes, I remembered I hosted a judge who was heading Amnesty Commission. Yes, so I sat, did 1 hour. At the end of it all, I came out. So the reviews were good. People were saying, who's that guy? Yeah. So then that, I think for me, that was the transition from sports and entertainment. But also, I was also doing a genge and bongo show, like hardcore Kenya, Tanzania music on radio. So
you really had a lot of things going on at your young age.
I had just gotten exposed to radio. I was passionate about it. So I was like, this is where I belong. I'm not leaving this.
So you're doing an entertainment show?
Yes, I did. Genge. Not this soft music of yours. Genge and bongo flavor. Hardcore beats from Jua Kali, Ali Kiba, and Nazizi.
Oh, Jaguar is the latest.
Jaguar is later. At that point, it was Jua Kali, it was Nameless, it was, Nazizi and the East African Bashman crew. It was basically Ali Kiba, Diamond Platinums. And I was a big fan of Ali Kiba. I listened to every Ali Kiba song to date. I'm a big fan.
So you're not a fan of Diamond because Diamond is like has swept all
his recent music actually weirdly appeals to me. Recent, but from time immemorial, give me Ali Kiba any day.
Wow.
Yes.
See, Joseph is narrating and
Ali Kiba. I remember there was a time he came to Arua and I had to board a bus and travel overnight for his street
Ali
bash.
Kiba,
Yes.
When was that?
So I don't remember, but those early crazy years. And I am not an outgoing person. I don't go to club, but for Ali Kiba, I went for a street bash. Yes. I remember that song that was hitting, I think, was Nakshi Mirembo. So dancing to those beats and all. Yeah. So that was it. So 2 times, first year and second year, I went to Radio Patches. And then for me, that's the place that I hold dear because they opened doors for me when everybody else had shut me out. After that, I think the worst day of my life was graduation day. You see, I see people wearing gowns and throwing, but it was very depressing for me.
What happened?
Because where was I going to after that?
No job.
No job. I didn't know anybody who was in high place. I didn't have an uncle who was a big man. I didn't know, and I didn't know what to go. So I stood at the gate of UCU in my suit. I remember it was black and the gown, and I stared at the gate of campus and I said, I am cooked. Because I had told myself, I'm not going back to my father's house from here.
I can imagine the situation like you're done with campus.
Yeah,
your parents are looking at you with school fees for you.
I am my late father's second born. So I had 6 other siblings behind me.
Oh, that is your shoulder.
And then there was this excitement that my son has graduated, but I was depressed. I was depressed on my graduation day.
How did you deal with that?
Well, there was nothing to do. I couldn't kill myself. So I just walked home, sat in the car, was driven home. I went and locked myself in the room and started asking myself, what next? What next? What next? What next?
Questions were, what next?
So a few days later, where I was doing internship, I had worked with a lady.
That's on the same radio?
Yes, on the same radio. I had worked with a lady who later went to Lira and became the news editor there. So she called me and said, come, I want you to be a sub-editor. Come to Lira. We're paying you 350,000.
How much were they paying you when you're doing the sports show, the entertainment show?
Boss, you're looking for internship, you're asking for money at the same time.
Isn't that the challenge with today's journalists?
You can't ask for money. At that point, you don't have a skill, you don't have experience. You're basically a nuisance at the place. You're asking every question, what is this button for? What is this? How do you record? So, no,
but
not
just
a dime.
honestly,
not a dime, not even food.
You're giving someone service. You're giving out your
But
time.
they don't need you, remember.
You're the one who needs them.
You're the one who needs them. They have their stuff. Yeah, so no money there.
They're paying you 300?
Yes. So they offered 350.
350.
I was excited. I was like, yes, I'm going to Lira.
Fresh from campus.
Yeah. So Now I have a lady who I call my second mom after my biological mom. And this lady is a daughter to my auntie, biologically. But she's really my mother in terms of what she has been and everything. So she was supporting me at university because my father was stretched with tuition. I come from a very humble background, so this lady was supporting me. She was really my mentor professionally. So I would talk to her about. So I went to her home in Perera and said, boom, I have a job. She said, Kongs, where is the job? I said, in Lira. She said, okay. She said, but you don't belong to Lira.
Belong to Kampala.
Yeah. She said, you should
make an establishment
find
here.
your way here. The media is here, not in Lira. And I said, but now how do I? She said, if you want to go to Lira, fine. But if you ask for my advice, I'll tell you stay here. So I went back home, and so I was dating my wife now.
Yeah.
So I called her, my girlfriend, and said, hey, I got a job in Lira. She said, hey, I'm happy for you, but the tone was like,
I don't like it.
Yeah. So later when I said, you don't sound happy, she said, no, I don't want you to move far away. She was studying, she was in law school in Bali at IU. So she said, I don't think it would be a good idea. But so now 2 people who were very close to me,
they have none of the thing.
They have cancelled the thing. So my auntie called me and said, if you have thought about what I have said to you, she pulled 600,000 and put it on the table and told me, go and look for a placement for internship. I am sure that you are a good head, you are a good mind. Once people discover what you have, you will find a job in Kampala. So I picked the money and said, okay, I'm not going to Lira. Now the job had gone. Okay?
Yeah.
So now, back to Kampala. So there was a classmate of mine called Moses Mukitale, if you remember.
Yeah, I knew that
yes.
name.
I was with Moses in journalism school. And during political science class, we would have a lot of arguments. We would argue starting with ourselves and end up with the lecturer. He was a doctor who had just come from the London School of Economics, I think. But he had lived out of the country for too long that he never understood anything. He lived in the textbook. His things were theoretical, so I found myself challenging him most of the times, and he would be offended.
Seeing the young man challenging him.
So one day I told him, I think you have lived out of the country for too long to understand the realities of our politics. It almost costed me. But so at WBS, there was a lady who was heading the newsroom called Prosi Chisito. I actually work with her at NBS now. She told Moses, go and find for me among your classmates people whom we can train as political reporters. Bring them for internship. So that's how I found my legs to WBS. Yes. Yeah. So Moses gave me my first pass. Important what you do, the relationships you build while at university, because they will give you. So I went in there. By the way, I was bad. Even looking into the camera like that was a problem. I had never imagined myself being a TV personality. Never. It was a street accident.
Just like the way you said at the beginning, you thought it's all about writing.
Yes.
So
now
all your mindset was about writing.
By the time I graduated, I knew I was good.
Radio.
Yes, I was like, this is my world to conquer. So now the first opportunity comes on TV, and I don't want to go to Lira. So I said, if I die, I die. I went. So it was fine with the knowledge, the understanding, the comprehension, but interaction with the camera,
zero.
Even looking into that camera for 10 seconds. If I could find for you my sign outs in my early days of journalism, you would laugh.
You people, camera is not easy. This lens here.
I struggled with the. So actually now I look at myself and the confidence in front of the camera and I laugh. So I struggled. But I found a team of very good mentors. There was that lady called Prosi, we call her Senga now because she has become our Senga over time. There's another gentleman called John Baptist Mokola. He now teaches at Makerere School of Journalism. And another lady called Cheswa Goreti. Yes, and I think that the one thing that we lost with the closure of WBS is mentorship. It gave a platform for young people to make mistakes and to grow. Yeah, so these people really helped us. They would have to run away from Goreti to go to the washroom. Her desk was right next to the where you pass to go to the washroom. So we would go down and crawl to dodge her. She was brutal. Where's your script? What is this? I said, give me a script.
Don't give me kachicha.
Yeah. To say, write like this, write like this. So over time, they started sending us for the filler stories. You know filler stories? There's a meeting of those stories that don't find their way to the bulletin. Yeah. So we'd go sit. So around that time, WBS had a good team of journalists. Peter Ntimba, Daniel Arap Moy, Diana Kagere. Yeah, they were the seniors. So eventually, over time, the seniors started leaving. You see, the newsroom has generations. This one come. So they started leaving and what. Yeah, so eventually we started finding ourselves there. So I was still struggling with sign-outs. Instead of looking at, so you know the camera has the LCD lens, the one they open. So instead of looking into this place, I would be looking into the LCD. So the sign-out comes when you're looking angles this side.
The humiliation.
So you would write a story and they will give it to another person to voice. Because, I mean, you don't understand, and it would really hurt. So you'd go home and people like, hey, we had them mentioning your name on the story, but we didn't see you. We didn't see you. So one day I said, if I die, I die. I picked my script and walked to the booth and voiced it. But it was like this.
Up and down, up and down.
Yeah, up and down. So the next, after the story went on air, the lady who had given me an internship has called me and said, never come back to my newsroom. Never again. Who gave you the permission to voice? You think you have grown now? Never come back to my newsroom. In the morning, I woke up at 6. I was the first in the newsroom. I sat there. She came and said, I told you I don't want to see you in my newsroom. I sat there. She finished the newsroom, the editorial meeting. I walked to her and said sorry. She said, never do it again. So over time, we started...
the journey went on well.
The journey went on, and then the team ahead. Then I remembered one day they told me to go with the parliamentary team to learn. So this gentleman allowed me to sit in the car. When we reached the gate of Parliament, they asked me, where are you going? You think this is a market where everyone enters? Do you have an accreditation card? Just go back. I was humiliated, but I came back. So eventually, you know, you begin to find your footing here and there. So you do that one story, which is your breakthrough. And everyone is like, yes,
this is the guy.
Yeah, so it changes the way people look at you, the nature of assignments and everything. Yeah, eventually, Moses left, so I had to step in to do the morning flavor. So that's how I meet Mildred to high say. Yeah, so.
You know, it's not easy. People look at you and they think you just got everything on a platter.
No,
but
it was a hustle.
If you listen to Joseph's story, for sure you can tell that he has been like going through a lot to land where he is right now. Because do you know that you're king of live reporting right now?
I'm retired now, I told you.
Okay, you were a king of live reporting.
Retired, yeah, so that's it. That's WBS. Then you could see that WBS was
going down.
Going down.
So you crossed.
So when I was at WBS, I had hoped to join NTV.
The people who chased you
the first time.
The first time.
So there's a gentleman who was talking to me. He was giving me ideas. Said, work on this, learn how to edit, learn this and this. When an opportunity comes, we're coming for you. So someone at NTV was actually speaking to me like so many years before they actually showed the first interest. So 2015, as a WBS up to 2015, when I felt like it was time to move on. So I remembered we had visited the Honorable Nandala Mafavi in Sironko. So I just pulled a laptop and wrote a resignation letter and said, I'm leaving. I mean, it's different. You don't have a wife, you don't have kids.
You're moving everywhere you like.
You can also,
You're still building that life.
And I resigned, I remembered, with immediate effect. But there were companies that had started saying, would you consider working with us? So I was like, I'll find something.
You had a breakthrough before.
You had grown now. So yes, I resigned and switched off my phones. because
you sent it via email.
Yes,
and
by
switched
mail.
off the phone.
I switched off my phone because I didn't want to be convinced to go back. So I think they gave up. Then 2015, they called me at NTV, we had a conversation, they told me to do some things. I was headed there. Yeah, it looked like Serena was the next destination. I mean, I had wanted to be there.
And by then, it was like the big
they
station.
They had a fantastic team. They had a good team. And I had Maurice Ocho, he became a brother. We would do stories together. We were working for competing media brands, but we would talk, would share ideas, would help each other. And he was senior to me. Yeah. And he was the best journalist this country had. He's a very, very good lad. Him and Chris Ochamringa were fantastic chaps. Yeah. And then I realized that Chris comes from my village. So yeah, we were talking and stuff. So it looked like I was headed to NTV. Yeah. So then, boom, I get a phone call from a gentleman who calls himself. So no, I was attending a wedding. A wedding of one of our friends at church. So at that wedding, I got a phone call. I remember the lady called herself Diana and said, I'm calling from NTV.
And NTV, NBS?
NTV.
So you're still at NTV pursuing
remember
that
thing? Conversation is back end. Morris is saying, no, we're working on it.
Yeah.
So
yes, now
end.
I get it, yes.
Now the formal phone call comes. Said Diana Kobugave, I think, and says the human resource manager of NTV wants to meet you. So I'm like, yes.
Got it.
I got it, yes. I said, when? I said, I put off that phone because I stepped out of the wedding. It was at Watoto, the one near Ndere. Yes, so when I put down the phone, another phone call came. So I picked, the guy says, hello, my name is Paul Luanga. I am the head of talent at NBS TV. We want to have a meeting with you and what and everything. I switched off the phone. The third phone call came from Vision Group.
Wow.
15 minutes. 3 job offers.
You can imagine all that long we've been trying to get a better job.
No one was even looking at you
minutes,
twice.
You have 3 calls.
And I had 3 calls.
Brands.
So I said, okay, now let me think about this. In my mind, NTV it was. Okay. So I went. I met the human resource manager of NTV. He took time explaining to me how I am lucky to be called by this big brand because we have millions of applications. I was not impressed with the way he handled me. Yeah. So I said, okay. But the NTV process was quite long. They would start here. I think it ended in Nairobi and what. So yes. So while things were still there,
you meet these guys.
No, I didn't want to work for NBS.
So you really didn't want to join NBS?
No, I didn't. So the 15 minutes of madness and so, but the NTV process, I think I didn't go to NTV at that point because the process was very long. So I went back again to consult. I was very close to my girlfriend before we got married. So she told me, no, I think you have a chance to do something, build something from scratch. So, no, first after they called me, I told Mildred, no, I don't want to work with NBS. So she said, no, you go and just listen to them. Even if you don't agree, just go and listen to them. So my girlfriend told me, NTV is already up. You're just going to be one of the people there. But this station is somewhere. You have an opportunity to make a substantive contribution and what. So she really was for NBS. And then Vision, I said no. I'll not further those talks because of some other reasons. So Mildred convinced me to go and meet this gentleman and what. So that's when I met Kin Karisa. It took me, I think, 3 minutes to negotiate a contract at NBS. Remember, NTV had process.
There was a whole process of going to Kenya, they bring back the information.
These guys were ready in 3 minutes and they asked me, when do you want to start? So they asked, how much money do you want? They said, we're offering you this, which was about double what I was getting at WBS. So long story short, so I'm hired as a show host and a news anchor. I've never anchored any news.
What was your first show on NBS?
Did I do any show at NBS? I don't remember. I remember I was hired as a show host and a news anchor. I never anchored any news. I don't think I hosted any show.
But on the contract, show host a news anchor.
No, I never wanted to be a news anchor. I have never wanted to be one. I am glad I am retiring without being one. Yeah.
Why?
No. You see, when I was going into journalism, there were fantastic news anchors. People who you would look at and be like, for me, the strength of a news anchor is in their ability to deliver stories in the field, to do that in-depth journalism. And now the trends are that showbiz has taken over content. Anchoring is no longer being informed and in-depth. It's about coming and masape on TV. Now I think I belong to the old generation of journalists who want the facts, the figures, the information. So I said no. I don't want to just go and be reading what people have brought. I want to tell the story.
Be in the field.
Go follow the story. So when I came, NBS had a lot of people. There was Simon Kagwanjala, Doreen Komuhanji. So I was apparently supposed to be part of the morning breeze, but there was a
lot of people there. Had
so
names,
I just said, when I was having a conversation with Carissa, he had mentioned their plans to do live everywhere. So I said yes.
You've met a lot of big people that some of the people fear to talk about. So how is the feeling when you're interacting with them?
You see, when you're on set, it's your kingdom. It comes with experience. It's your kingdom. Not even the president is above you on that set.
Speaking about the president,
I'm not saying outside the set is the same. But on that set, the president, not even the president is bigger than you.
Remember your interaction with the president of Uganda, where it was like NBS is a bad television, and you're the guy in front of him holding that mic, waiting to shoot your question. What was going through your mind?
No, when he was saying that, I just told myself he's the president of this country. I might not agree with him, but I will respect him. I believe in respect, disagreeing respectfully. I don't believe in making a name by exchanging with people in authority. No. So that's why the only thing I told him is that, Mr. President, our loyalty is to the country. And for me, that's my principle. My loyalty is to my country, not to anybody. If you're a human being, my loyalty is not to you, it is to Uganda. If it's against Uganda, then I think that that was one of the experiences. And then the other one is with General Masiko on the front line, when he came and tried to say, I am not here for a debate, I am here to teach. So he pushed me until I told him, here I ask the questions and you answer. Again, I didn't want to disrespect him. That's why I said, with all due respect, sir, I think that one of the interviews I remember very well was one with Raila Odinga in Nairobi at in the 2017 elections. I've had quite many, I think. And then Jepam, who I think was the hardest person to interview.
Actually, that was my next question. I was going, what has been your best and bad interview so far before you retire? That one interview that stands out.
Interview was the one-on-one with Raila Odinga in Nairobi, because Raymond Mujuni of NTV and myself, he was at NTV then, and myself got an interview on the same day following one another. He moved from Raymond's set to mine.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know but he moved from that set to come to mine. People say it was a good interview. And then the one with Mbabazi, when in the heat of the tear gas during the elections, Mbabazi was a difficult person to interview because he's intelligent. But on the road, I think I've interviewed literally everyone. I have wanted to interview. I wanted to interview Dr. William Ruto, and actually I had, it was coming through, but now
Kenya is going into elections in the next year.
Yes, 2022.
So what do you anticipate in there, just briefly?
I hope that they don't go back to violence, but you see the coalitions are forming, everything is getting in place. So every journalist should be looking for a ticket to Nairobi for the elections.
Well, Joseph.
Yes.
What would be your last word to a young person in university, HSC, wanting to be a journalist like you? Because I'm sure there are many people you've inspired to become journalists.
And I don't believe in this notion of there are no jobs. There are a lot of spaces in the newsroom for good journalists, okay? But good journalism requires hard work, dedication, commitment, and going the extra mile. The current generation of journalists looks at journalism as a masape, just wearing suits and going to swing around. I think that you need to work hard, improve, gain experience, build your source network, and also our present day newsrooms don't have mentors. Yeah, and that's why I miss WBS, because we were really grounded. That's why you see that my generation had myself, Mildred, Moses Mukutale, Webb, Daniel Webb, Luze Anderson. When you go to the NBS newsroom, you'll find I think about 7, 8 people from the WBS newsroom seated there. That means there was a fundamental grounding at the beginning. And maybe lastly, I would say find a mentor. Find a mentor. That one person who will call you to order when you go wrong and tell you what to do when you do right. Mentorship.
Hope when you're up there in the secretary in parliament, you create some time for us someday so that we can bring you back on the channel and have a conversation.
Yeah, I think I'll be working with journalists, so wow. I don't have a choice.
Well, you've had it all from Joseph Sabiti, who is retiring right now because you won't be seeing him as a journalist on your TV stations, but he will be coming as a panelist on your TV stations. Well, tell us what you think about this interview that we've just concluded with Joseph Sabiti. Let us know all your comments, what you think about the interview in the comments down below. And don't forget to check out the latest episode about Talk up here. Click up here. That's where you'll find the link to watch the latest episode. Otherwise, I'm Amon Mukisa signing out for now.